We are live, and if you are an artist, this is the St. Patrick's Day show on how to get the gold at the end of the rainbow, how to make extra money. Today, we're going to talk about your questions that you've submitted, things like, how do you make the most of your time in an art gallery? How do you start a new art gallery? How do you sell your art solely from your house if you're confined to home? Pricing your art. If you don't have a big following, social media, growing an email list. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. We'll try to get to all of these and more, plus your questions. I'm Eric Rhodes, founder of many art magazines, newsletters, conferences, and things for artists. And I've been helping artists, galleries, and the art world for over 2 decades with marketing advice. That's my superpower, my Irish superpower. And I've spent most of my career marketing and selling products and watched businesses 10x themselves by following advice. So we want to try to help you do that today. Let's get the show officially started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes.
I have no dignity. It is St. Patrick's Day, and I am glad to be here with you. And I've got my pigtails on, and I'm all ready for this, but I think I'm going to take this off just because, well, can't concentrate if I'm being completely foolish, and you're not going to take me seriously anyway, right? Okay, so we are Art School Live. We're here every weekday at 12 noon, and the goal is to teach everyone how to paint. And on Mondays, we do Marketing Mondays, and that's when we teach you how to sell your paintings. Or if you're a photographer, you're a crafter, any kind of artist, this is for you. We have lots of ideas that can apply to you. Just insert the word photography where I might say painting, or insert craft where I might say painting. Okay, makes sense? All right, if you guys want to come on live, you can do that. Let's show you how. Just go to artschool.live and /stream, and then follow the instructions, and you can get on, and we'd love to have you on live. I have just returned from a week of vacation. Man, I am ready to be back. I spent a full week on the Wonder of the Seas, which is the 3rd largest cruise ship in the world. And 2 years ago, it was the largest, but they keep building bigger ones. This was enormous. It had 7,000 people, plus 3,000 crew. If you can imagine, I don't know how they do it, but they did it beautifully, and it was a wonderful experience. And I had a chance to relax. I completely unplugged. I took my social media. I didn't buy the internet package. I didn't buy the phone package. So I had no way to contact anybody, including my own family. And it was really terrific. I was just able to completely chill and get away from it all. So that was fun. All right. So here we have a question from Beth James, who says, I have an appointment with the Philadelphia Horticulture Society, currently manning the largest flower show in the country. I'm representing the Philadelphia Watercolor Society as their plein air director. Awesome. We're excited to collaborate with them this next year, and I wanted to discuss the possibility of allowing a limited number of artists to set up around the various exhibits to bring life of painting to the show. Do I have any ideas? Oh yeah, I've got ideas. All right, so let's ask ourselves this. With all marketing, the very first question you've always got to ask, whenever an opportunity is placed in front of you, you have to ask yourself, what is my goal, right? So I had an opportunity placed in front of me recently, and that was the very first question I asked, is because it was going to involve a lot of travel, it was going to involve a lot of expense, and I asked myself, what is my goal? And then if I accomplish my goal, is it going to be worth the effort? You know, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? So you've got to ask yourself that. You know, your goal in this particular case, you are a watercolor society, and you're going to be seen by all the people who go to the flower show in Philadelphia. So what's your goal? Well, your goal might be, we want to sell paintings and raise money for the society. We might want to sell paintings and raise money for the artists. We might want to get new members into the Watercolor Society. You may have some other goal that I don't know what it is, but start with that goal. Make sure that you have a clear understanding of what it is you want. If you want members, work on that. You will get clarity clarity, you will get clear answers to how to deal with this once you set that goal. So what I would do in this particular case, I would, of course, invite all the plein air painters in, and I would sell the idea of plein air painting, because that's what I would do, because I'm a plein air guy, right? But I would place people around at different flower stations and having them doing flower paintings live. And I would also put paintings out that they have done. And then, of course, you want to find out how, are you allowed to sell? Can you sell paintings direct? Can you do other things? And so this is what you want to ask yourself is, how can I focus on that? If the goal is to get new members, then you've got to have some way to get them. They've got to have some way to find you. And so you might put up a little card with every paint station that says, these painters are painting in plein air. They're part of the Philadelphia Watercolor Society. If you would like to be interested or learn more about this, just scan this QR code and then have them scan that QR code. You also always try to get something in the program that can stand out, something that will, say, hey, today we have the members from the Philadelphia Watercolor Society doing plein air painting. You want to learn more about them, scan this QR code, right? Because they might take that home, and that would be a good way to get people. So really just start with your goal. Find out what your goal is. If there's handouts, you might ask if you can do an insert. Look for ways to try to fulfill that goal. That's ultimately what you've got to do, all right? Now, we have one of our regulars always asks great questions. Neil McMillan is on. Neil, happy St. Patrick's Day. You're not, oh, you are wearing green. Good.
This is the greenest shirt that I own, so I'm wearing it.
It's green enough. Okay, what's your question, Neil?
Hi from Conway, South Carolina. So my question is, I'm making plans to attend PACE, the Plein Air Convention Exposition, but I'm also interested in the tables, and I'm interested in purchasing a table as a vendor. And so I wanted to ask you if you had any insight about that, or any do's or don'ts, or if you have anything that you can tell me about it.
Well, so that's a loaded question, Neil. I think the first thing I would ask yourself is what is your goal, right? We just talked about that. Why do you want to have a table? What's your goal of having a table?
Well, I've got some plans that I'm not sure if I can tell everybody online right now exactly what my plan is, but I'm going to do a Kickstarter.
Okay, so you have a product that you're gonna launch at the convention.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, let me tell you a couple of things. There was a vendor at the convention. First off, there are booths and there are tables, and both of them can be fairly pricey. So you've got to ask yourself, is it going to be worth it? Is my investment going to be worth it? How am I going to get people to look at my product, view my product, visit my booth? What am I going to do to stand out? A lot of people would do some of the things I would recommend, like a program ad or an insert, something like that. Maybe an incentive, come by the booth to win, a chance to win, something. But ask yourself, if I sold some percentage of the people at the convention, whatever product I'm selling. So the way I always look at things is that sell-through is typically, in a direct mail environment, sell-through is usually 1%, right? So if I had a list of 100 people, I'm going to sell one person, right? And the plein air convention, where you could get 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 people, the question is, how many people are going to buy your product? Is it 1%? Is it 10%? It's hard to know. Now, if you have a mainstream product, like you have paint, right, then your likelihood of selling product is going to be a very high percentage. If you have a product like an easel, like maybe it's something new and cool and everybody wants it, then you might have a high sell-through. Or if it's something like everybody says, oh, I've already got an easel, I don't need one, then you've got a scenario where you've got to ask yourself, well, how many people are likely to buy it? Then, then of course, you have to say to yourself, okay, so if I sell 100 people, which would be, let's say it's 10%. If I sell 100 people, is it worth the cost of the booth and the cost of the trip and all the other stuff that comes with it? Now, that, that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is to say, you know what, I'm not even going to try this year. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna enjoy the convention because you were going to go anyway, and then I'm going to study it, learn about it, see how people interact at the tables, see what works, see what doesn't work, and make the most out of that for the following year, so you could have the time to build a strategy, because you haven't launched your product yet. I think if you're going to be at the convention, you're better off to have a physical product that people can walk away with. I don't think people are likely to say, I want to buy something that's coming next year. So keep that in mind.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. That answer your question?
What would you say is the difference between a booth versus a table, and where can I find that information?
Well, you could talk to Sarah, who works in our ad department. My producers will post Sarah's contact information. And I don't know what's even available at this late date. Sometimes the things are sold out. Tables tend to be outside of the exhibit hall. Booths tend to be inside the exhibit hall. Booths are going to be more expensive. A booth is typically a minimum of 10 by 10. So you got a lot of space to fill up. And that, we have vendors who will buy 2 or 3 booths. They'll take up a big giant space. And that way they can bring a lot of paint or brushes or easels or whatever it is they're doing. The convention is very specific to plein air. Obviously there are paint companies and panel companies and easel companies and brush companies and frame companies and all kinds of different people, but it tends to be very plein air specific. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So we can get you that information, but we'll post Sarah's contact information in there. And that way you can contact her and talk to her and find out. She's the one who's going to be able to tell you, will this work for my product? I had a vendor who came to the convention a couple of years ago. And when I saw them there, I immediately thought, oh, this is not a fit at all, because they were a product. It was a good product, but it was a product that was really targeted towards figurative painters and not targeted towards plein air painters. And as a result, I went up to them and I said, well, thank you for being here, but what are your expectations? And they really didn't know. And I said, well, here's what I'm concerned about. This is what you need to say to these people, that you need to try and pull out of them. Are they doing something other than plein air painting? Are they doing any figurative or studio painting? Because if you can pull that out of them, then you can make it worth your while. So I think it's a lot of people show up at things and they just like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have a plan. I like to show up at things and always have a plan. I want to know exactly what I'm going to get out of it. And I'm going to fight for that every minute. So if I know I've got to sell 10 people a day, then I'm going to work hard at making sure I try a little harder to sell somebody. I don't want to be obnoxious or push too hard, but I want to make sure that I'm really ready. So whatever it is you do, Neil, make sure that you're ready, that you have a real clear understanding. I think I know what your product is because I think you told me about it one time. And to me, that product might be more of a studio product than it is a plein air product, but that's okay because we do have people who sell studio easels at the convention as well. And that might be another thing, is you might collaborate with somebody who's already there and say, hey, can I make, if you're selling studio easels, can I make my product available in your booth, and I'll work the booth with you and save you some time so you can get away once in a while. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patty's Day, Eric.
All right. Okay, next we're going to, we have Cynthia Gonzalez, who says, I'm going to be a guest artist in a local gallery. How do I make the most of it? I'll have wall space in the gallery for 2 months to hang anything I want. I'm guessing, Cynthia, you can't hang anything you want. I'm just guessing. There could be things they wouldn't let you hang. Okay, well, Cynthia, I'm always going to say this to everybody. I'm going to repeat this over and over and over again until I go to my grave. Start with the end in mind. Start with your goals. And so your goal, I would assume, in getting into a gallery is that you want to sell paintings. Let's go with that as your goal. Now the question is, okay, I got 2 months what do I hope to get out of those 2 months? Do I hope to sell 1 painting, 10 paintings, 50 paintings, 100 paintings? What is a realistic number that you want to be able to sell? And then what can you do to control the sales? Now, here's the problem. When we have a gallery is a very positive experience to have, but they are your sales representative, right? So when if somebody walks into a gallery and they represent 50 artists, they're gonna kind of let you kind of point yourself to where you want to be, and then they're gonna try, once you express interest in something, a painting, they're gonna try and get you to buy that painting, right? Logical. So what you want to make sure of is that you have a real clear goal in mind of what you want before you start doing that. Because the problem is that if somebody walks into that gallery and they go to somebody else's wall and they don't go to your wall, then you can't control any of that. So what can you control? You can control some amount of traffic. The problem with any gallery is a gallery has what we call walk-in traffic, and walk-in traffic is hopefully you're in a neighborhood where there's a lot of activity. I was just on this cruise. There were hundreds of stores selling T-shirts and trinkets and all kinds of junk. And after I went into 1 or 2 of them, I stopped going into them. But if I did go into things that had things that looked a little nicer and a little bit more unique. I didn't even buy a T-shirt the whole trip. I'm very proud of myself. But you want to look for a way that you can draw people in. So what can you do to draw people in? Is the gallery going to let you do something? Could you have something in the window? Could you have a sign in the window with one of your paintings that says, have a chance to win this painting, simply come inside. And then when they go inside, they go to the 𝗠cieះ𝗱𝘆 wall, and you could have a QR code that says, scan the QR code for a chance to win this painting. And you can put a painting in the window or whatever. Now, what are you doing? If they like your painting, they scan your QR code. Now what you're doing is you're building an email address, right? You're getting an email list. You're getting a list. You're getting people who expressed interest in your paintings. And then what you can do is say the painting giveaway will be announced at the end of the 2 months here. And just go ahead and put your information in. And then you can have a first letter that says, hey, thanks for visiting the gallery. Thanks for registering to win. The drawing will be on this date. And I will send out an email about the winner of that painting. By the way, I've automatically signed you up for my newsletter, which you'll be receiving as well. Okay. And you have to have what's called an opt-in, where you set things up so that people actually opt in when they click to give you their email that says, I'm also getting your newsletter. All right. You also want to invite everybody you know to your opening. You want to make sure that you have an opening. You want to try to get advanced publicity. Don't leave it up to the gallery. You can talk to them about it. You can collaborate about it, but look for ways to be building up publicity for yourself and for your artwork, and having it all culminating with that opening. And what I would do is I would have multiple openings. I know that sounds crazy. You can't just have one opening. Something I learned on the cruise ship is they had multiple times for everything, right? So some people can't make the Friday opening, so you could have a Friday opening, you could have a Saturday opening, you have a Friday opening again next Friday, and a Saturday opening the next Saturday, that kind of thing. I would also find out if I have a mail list, I'm going to send them an invitation, I'm going to send them a card, I'm going to email invites, I'm going to do anything I can to get people in there, maybe even offer an incentive. Come to the opening, have a chance to win something, because you want to get as many people there for 2 reasons. One is you want traffic who might buy paintings, but secondly, if there's nobody there, it doesn't look successful. So you know how when you're walking down the street and you see a crowd of people and you're like, wonder what's going on here, you kind of hang out and you kind of look to try to see what's going on. Restaurants are notorious for doing this. Restaurants will actually have people that they pay to create lines. So it was back in the Studio 54 days. Remember, people would stand in line, they wouldn't let anybody in. It was creating this sense of demand. So look for ways that you can get people there, gather names, QR code so that people can win, or maybe scan to get a free ebook or something like that. But a price is always going to be better. All right. If you guys want to come on live, here's how you do it. You can bring your question in. All you need is a camera and a microphone. Just go to artschool.live/stream. Next, we have a question from 𝗦𝗲𝗁𝗂𝗏. She says, "Hi, Eric. I'm starting a new gallery in a very quaint, charming village. What would be your best recommendation?" My best recommendation, Maureen, is don't do it. No, just kidding. Don't do it unless you have a plan, right? So the failure rate of galleries, I'm not trying to be discouraging, I'm trying to be realistic. The failure rate of galleries is very high because here's what happens. They think, okay, well, I get all the paintings for free because they're going on consignment, and all I got to do is sell a certain number of paintings to pay the bills. And that's true, but you also have a lot of other expenses like the cost of rent, the cost of lighting, the cost of employees, and all of those other things. And you want to make sure that you have some goals. So the first question I have, does quaint and charming, you say you're in a quaint and charming village, does that mean there's traffic? Does that mean it's, there's a lot of traffic? Does it mean there's no traffic? The best money, the best marketing money anybody can spend is for traffic. Walgreens I met a man who was in the marketing department at Walgreens at an event one time. We talked about this. He says, we do extensive research. We get these traffic count things, and we do traffic counts on roads, and we have certain minimum traffic counts. And if we find a corner that has that kind of traffic count, then we will always put up a store where there are highest traffic counts, right? Why do they do that? Well, traffic means business, right? So you want to have business, and if you don't have traffic, if you don't have foot traffic, you're not going to get business. Now, a friend of mine owns a marketing company, and he has a lot of jewelers, and he has learned that if he can put a jeweler in the same center next to a Walgreens, he gets great traffic, right? So he actually takes advantage of that. So if your gallery is next to a Walgreens, that may not be the best environment for a gallery, but it might be a good traffic place. So you've got to ask yourself this: do I understand my minimum numbers? What do I need to keep the doors open monthly? What if I have no income for 6 months? Can I survive? Because the first 6 months are the hardest, and it takes you a while to figure things out and to make things work. And you think you're going to know how to do it, but it's going to be completely different than what you expect. So can I survive for 6 months? And then after that, you want to ask yourself, who is my target audience? Who is the person that is most likely to spend money? Where do they live? How do I get them into the gallery? What should my average sales price be? And look for all the things that give you the indications of what you need to survive. How many paintings or products do I need to sell a week to be able to pay the rent and to pay all the expenses? You need to know all of that in advance. I know it sounds crazy, but you've got to do that. You want to fight like crazy then to hit those numbers. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that, you don't necessarily have to just sell art. A friend of mine owns a big art gallery in Santa Fe, and they do 60% of their business selling jewelry. They have a beautiful jewelry counter. So why not add some other things? Somebody walks in for some art, but they might walk out with a bracelet or something. So also ask yourself, what's my advertising budget? Because you cannot rely on foot traffic alone. You got to bring people in, you got to advertise, you got to promote, you've got to do traffic building promotions. You want to ask yourself, what can I do to get as many people in there as possible for the first 6 months? And then keep it going after that. Your goal is to get visitors, to start building your email list now so that you can e-blast people once you have your grand openings, right? Also hold multiple grand openings. I know we talked about that a minute ago. And then look for things that are going to create buzz. What's different about this gallery? Why are people going to want to go there? Who buys from you? Who are your customers? Who might be seen in this quaint little village in the gallery buying one of your paintings? If you have something like that you can take advantage of, do that. The other thing I would recommend is don't make it all about your work. And the reason I feel that way, I have noticed my patterns over the years before I became an art person. If it said Eric Rhodes Gallery, Eric Rhodes Artist, I never went into a single artist gallery, or very rarely did. It was a little uncomfortable for me for whatever reason, but mostly I went in there because I thought, oh, okay, I can see their work in the window. If that work isn't something if it's something I don't like, there's not going to be any other artists in there. So what you want to do is make sure you're sending the signal that there are other artists in there. And remember, not everybody's going to love your work. Not everybody loves my work. And so what you want them to do is to go, oh, I'm going to go in here and look around, find something I like. And that's why you want to have some variety in there, different price points. And be careful not to underprice your work. That's one thing that everybody underprices everything, and that's what gets people in trouble. Also, I would go to the local merchants association, collaborate on some things to get people into the neighborhood. Like in Saranac Lake, where I live in the summertime, we do art walks every Tuesday night, and so that's a pretty cool thing to do. Okay, anyway, I hope this helps. I'd love to hear from you and see how it goes. I want to remind you guys that we're here every weekday at 12 noon. Our goal is to help artists learn how to paint. We can teach anybody to paint, and we have artists on every weekday except for Mondays and Fridays. Mondays are marketing, Fridays are feedback, where we give critiques. We have artists on all week, and if I'm not the host, somebody else is the host, but I'm trying to be here whenever I possibly can be. We've been here, we're going to be celebrating our 5-year anniversary of continuous operation very, very quickly, because we started right when COVID started. Okay, well, it's St. Patrick's Day. I hope everybody's ready. Tonight is the midnight deadline for the St. Patrick's Day early bird price at the plein air convention. You want to get in there and get booked before the end of tonight at 12 midnight California time, I think. And so make sure. The plein air convention is going to be in Lake Tahoe this year. Last year we did a challenge. We had the people in the East. We said to the people in the East, you know, we always get all these great people from the West. We said to the people in the East, this is the first time we're bringing it East. We want to see if the East can win the challenge and bring the most people into the convention. And that's exactly what happened. The East won last year. Well, now we've moved it back West. And the big challenge is, who's going to win? Is the East going to win or the West going to win? And you would think it would be the West, right? But everybody goes from all over. They drive across the country, they fly across the country, everybody wants to go. The question is, who's going to win this year? I think we need a California challenge, right? I want to see the people from California showing up. And we're not going to be in the California and Nevada area for a long time. And so this is a chance. Lake Tahoe's beautiful, most beautiful place we've ever painted. It's going to be close enough that you can get there from anywhere in California. And of course, anywhere in the country, it's going to be spectacular. We're painting in Tahoe, Reno, Virginia City. We're having a cowboy thing going on. We're going to paint with our cowboy hats. And we're also painting in the high Sierras. We've got some beautiful painting locations. We have Scott Christensen. I was on the phone with him this morning. He's all excited. We've got Joseph Zbukvich, the greatest watercolor artist in the world, who's going to be teaching from Australia. And we have 80 instructors this year, and they're there to work with you, to help you, to teach you on stage, to work with you when we go painting. And even if you're a brand new baby painter and you don't have any experience painting, you should come. We don't judge anybody. You don't have to show your work to anybody. You're there to learn, to grow, to meet friends, and have a good time. So that's the plein air convention. But get signed up before midnight tonight. Okay, we have another guest today. We have David Langvin. David, welcome to Art School Live, Marketing Monday.
Hi, Eric.
Hi, David. Where are you watching from?
Hang on, I got the computer lag happening here.
Okay, are you there?
I'm in BC. I'm in Kamloops, BC. Yeah. I have a question for you. Just maybe get some feedback on your idea about it. Yeah.
What's the idea? David, sounds like you're having a tech issue. You're not hearing me. So our producer will get on and work that out with you. Are you got it under control now?
No.
No. Okay, she'll get on and work with you, and we'll work on that. Man, the sun is beaming in today. I apologize for the stripes on my face. Okay, here comes one from Karen Hanya. Okay. Karen says, I'm confined to a bed, which limits my opportunities to sell my art. What can you suggest? Karen, I'm sorry that you have to go through that. That sucks, but you make the best of it, right? So think of this as an advantage, Karen. You have lots of time to spend time building your online presence, your online store. I assume you're painting or creating whatever you're doing in bed. And you have the entire world. You have billions of people who can get to know you online. So you have all this time. Most of us are like, we're so busy, we don't have time to do all this stuff. You maybe have an opportunity to have the time to do some of these things. So take advantage of it. You have probably, Karen, a powerful story. And maybe you can help people want to buy to be a part of your story, right? So maybe, I don't know what your story is, Karen. I don't want to make something up, but you could say, I'll make up another story of somebody else. Bob was born without whatever, a pelvis, and as a result has been confined to bed his entire life. But he loved art. He was passionate about art. He was convinced that he could do it, and he self-taught how to do art. Now he's doing fabulous paintings, and he does them from his bed. He also operates his art business from his bed. And there's another famous artist that we all know who was confined to a bed. Do you know who that was? Ms. Frida Kahlo, right? She had a spine problem. She ended up confined to her bed. And as a result, she took advantage of that. She took her story to her canvas, the story of being stuck in bed, the story of her demons, the story of her dreams, and she put it all into her art. So maybe, Karen, you can do that and look at that as an advantage. You could even package yourself as today's Frida Kahlo, or something like that to build an online presence, to build an online store. You have a really great story that you can craft and take advantage of it. We all have stories, and some of those stories are, what can I say? Well, some of those stories are, they're not terribly exciting, but you can make them exciting by, finding a way. I would go into AI. I use one called Claude AI. I go into it and say, hey, here's my situation. Here's my story. Build a story for me that's legitimate, but will make it a little better. And sometimes that can help you, okay? So start by doing that, then by building a list, using social media, getting followers, and really take advantage of that story. I think you can make it something that will work really well for you. Okay, we're waiting for David to come back. Meanwhile, we've got Sophie from London. London, welcome. I'm shy about pricing my work. How do I even figure out what to charge when I'm new and I don't have a following yet? Well, Sophie, there's a lot of answers to that question. First off, I don't know who said this, maybe Churchill. Maybe I'll say it was Churchill because you're from London. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to act despite the fear, right? So being shy only hurts you. So what you've got to ask yourself, is there a way that you can not be shy about things? The reality is that when you're pricing your work, you don't have to face anyone in person. So ask yourself, why am I shy? Is it insecurity? And is it getting in the way of my success? And if so, how can I overcome that? We can all overcome things. I can't even begin to tell you the things that I overcame. And now, I could not stand in front of people and speak. I ended up going to Toastmasters to overcome that. And I had to stand up in front of 30 people, and you thought I was going to die. That's how scared I was, right? So now I am speaking to millions of people every day, and it's just what I do. And I no longer am insecure about that stuff. So you can do this. What you want to do is you just want to start somewhere. I would start by, I'll tell you a little story. I won't use the real name of the artist, but there's a very famous artist now, and he was a sculptor, and so he was pretty well known. So this story isn't going to completely apply to you, but he was a sculptor, and he couldn't sculpt anymore. And so because he was aging, his hands were probably arthritic and so on. So he decided to start painting, and he learned to paint, and he sold his first painting for $250,000. And so I asked him, how did he do that? He says, well, I just, my wife actually sets the prices, asked her. So I asked her, and she said, well, what happened is I just said, okay, we had this income, we have to replace it. How many paintings a year are you going to do? How many hours are you putting in? And I put an hourly price on it and said, okay, it's $250,000. If she'd have set it at $100,000, it probably would have sold at $100,000, but they got it. Now he had a brand. So building brand, Sophie, is one of the best things you can do to get your pricing up ultimately. But just start by getting it out there, get some experience, push it out there, ask yourself, how much am I spending on this? How much time and materials? How much would I, if I'm a professional, if I were a nurse or something, how much would I be making hourly if that's what I would be spending my time on? And then charge that hourly rate and make sure you charge for your materials and your frames and all that other stuff, and start there and put it out there and see how it goes. It's not going to go well right out of the box. I'll tell you that. You're going to have, you might have lucky moments. I had lucky moments. I had times when I didn't sell any paintings for a long time. You just got to kind of keep adjusting things. But the key is getting in front of the right people, because if you put yourself in an environment where nobody has any money, let's say you're selling at the flea market where people are there to buy things for $2, you're going to be selling low price paintings. You're not ever going to get $200, $300, $400, $500 or $1,000 for painting at a flea market. But you put yourself in an environment like I was I was on this cruise last week, and we're going into these ports, and there was not one art gallery. And I wanted to go into an art gallery, right? And I would have wanted to find a painting to remember my trip. And there was nothing there. But somebody, these people on these cruise ships, some of them, I watched an art auction on the cruise ship yesterday, and they did, in the 1 hour that I was there, they did $300,000 in sales. They had one painting that went for $35,000, and it was a print, right? So it's about environment. It's about being with people with the right money. It's about being, having a captive audience at the right time, creating excitement. They did a lot of things that I learned about that they did, like making sure that they built up the story of the artist, the story of the paintings. Those things are all very important. So make sure that you're looking for ways to do that. All right, now we got David back. David, welcome back. I hope we got your tech problems solved.
How's that working now? Is that good?
Yeah, it's working great.
Okay. So my question is actually a really good follow-up to the stuff you were just talking about. So I've been a full-time successful artist here in Canada for over 30 years. And the thing with the galleries that I do business with is it's really important to have a consistent price for all of your paintings. And all of the artists that I know that are in the same sort of market as me have the same kind of formula for pricing their paintings. So it's always consistent. So no matter where the painting sells or when the painting or what painting it is, it always sells for the same price based on square inch formula. And my understanding that it's not always like that in the American market. Can you talk to that point for me?
So you're saying that this is occurring in Canadian galleries?
Yes. And as long as I've been in the business, it's a real important point for the galleries and the artists that sell in this market.
Well, I'm a guy who loves a challenge. If somebody tells me I can't do something, I'm going to go do it. My daughter said, "Dad, you can't go ziplining on the ship." I said, "Yeah, I can." She said, "No, you're too old for it." So I said, "I'm going." And I went ziplining. And then she said, "Well, why don't you go ice skating with me?" And my wife said, "No, you'll fall and break your head." And I said, "No, I'm going to do it." So I went ice skating. So somebody tells me I can't do something, I'll prove them wrong every time, right? That's just my nature. I think there are what I would call social norms, David, and there may be social norms in Canada that you can't break, because the problem you have, what you're facing is that people tell themselves stories, right? It's always been this way, so it's always going to be this way. Let me give you an example. I had an artist that I coach, and this artist needed to get her prices up because it was time. And she went to her galleries and she said, I need to get my price from $2,200 to $3,200. And both of her galleries said, that's not possible. We can't do it. And so she came back to me. She said, what do I do? I said, fire her. She said, well, I got to get some other galleries first. I said, well, of course. So I said, what you want to do is call some galleries that think a $3,500 painting is the cheapest painting they sell. And so she found a couple of galleries. They got them to agree to put her paintings in, and she fired the other galleries. Now her minimum price paintings are selling for $3,500 instead of $2,200. And they're getting more money. There's a theory. I learned this from a person who was a salesperson for 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗶𝘆 magazine. He said, whenever I hire salespeople, he said an ad in 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗆 is this was 20 years ago. He said an ad in 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗆 magazine is $80,000. He said, so the first question I ever ask a salesperson is, have you ever sold an $80,000 ad? If they say no, then I don't even interview them any further. He said, but if somebody says, oh yeah, I've sold $120,000 ads, $80,000 is too cheap. He said, I'll hire them all day long because their head is in a different place. Same thing with a gallery. So if you've got a gallery that is not willing to go beyond a certain area, you might want to try to find another gallery. I find that there are two conflicting theories. One is that you should have a square inch price and always stick to that price, and that you should be consistent across all of your galleries. And I do think that if people are looking you up and they're in gallery A and they're looking your name up and they find you in gallery B and they see a 9x12, it should be roughly the same price. But there are exceptions to that rule. Have you ever done a piece that you worked 10 times as long on or 10 times as hard on or repainted multiple times until you got it right, and you felt like that piece was like the best piece you ever painted? You ever been there?
Yeah. So my experience has always been the paintings that I prefer and the ones that I like the most are rarely the most popular in the marketplace. So I gave up on that idea a long time ago. I just paint what I paint, and I'm always surprised at what's the most popular. So yeah, I don't go there.
So this kind of goes back to there's at every plein air show, there's usually an artist choice award. The artist choice paintings almost never sell because an experienced artist is going to like different things than what consumers like. They're going to like something that's different, that feels a little better. But there are paintings that I've done that they weren't necessarily even my favorites, but they were the best that I've ever done. And there are times when I've said, I am not going to sell that painting for what I would normally sell for. I have a big painting that I just did. And by the way, big paintings is a great way to get your prices up because you don't necessarily have to stick to a square inch price for your larger pieces. You know, you could say, okay, my square inch price for my smaller pieces is this, for the larger pieces is that. The galleries may or may not like it. If they don't like it, find a gallery. I would definitely encourage you to find a gallery in the States that, you know, I see your work behind you. It's fabulous. You just got to make sure that you're selling something that's going to sell in their marketplace. I was with Rick Wilson at Winter Artscape the other day, and Rick was painting, you know, buildings of St. Augustine and palm trees and stuff. And he said, these will never sell in my galleries, but they'll be nice memories for me to have. That's exactly right. Right. So if you're selling Canada paintings that aren't going to appeal to somebody in upstate New York, you got to find something that's going to appeal to them. You know, there are universal subjects that will appeal to them.
Yeah, I have an interesting situation happened a number of years ago. I was approached by a really good gallery in the States, and it's actually the gallery I would have chose to do business with in that area. And they approached me, and they wanted to represent me, and they said, you're gonna need to triple your prices. And so I had to make a decision about, well, do I sell my work in the States or do I stay in the Canadian market? Because at the time, I don't think that would have been sustainable. Of course, the American market is much bigger, so those prices could be sustained, but I would just sell a lot less paintings in Canada. So,
well, what you're doing is you're telling yourself a story, but that may not be a true story.
yeah, right.
Right. So you're telling yourself you would sell fewer paintings in Canada. That might not be true. You also might be telling yourself you would not sell as many paintings at a higher price in the US, and that may not be true. But I think the goal is test everything. And I wouldn't just do one test because it depends entirely on the gallery. But if the gallery, this is a big pill that I had to swallow, that I had to learn about, and that is that if a gallery loves your work and they're passionate about what you do and they think it's worth a certain price, they will sell it all day long and they'll keep selling it. If, on the other hand, they feel like, I'll put this artist in, but he's not necessarily somebody I think is going to sell here, they'll never sell it. Right. So you got to have a committed gallery person. And that's why I like the idea of spreading my risk. Now, I just finished rewriting my book. I wrote it on the cruise. I know I wasn't supposed to be working, but I finished it. And one of the concepts we talked in there is about making sure you stand in the river where money is flowing, right? And so what you've got to ask yourself is, can I have a US presence and can I have a Canadian presence? Now there's one way you could do that where you could be sure, 100% sure, that you do not influence your Canadian presence. Do you know what that way is?
Nope.
Come up with a pseudonym. Right? Now, I have a friend who does $5 million a year in gallery sales, $5 million a year. And he's gotten to the point where he's kind of peaked. He can't seem to get it past 5 million. So what did he do? He invented a new name. He's in the same galleries with a new name. And now he's selling, I don't know how much he's selling in the new name, but he's selling in the new name. And, there's nothing dishonest about it. It may not be.
And do the paintings look like his?
I'm sorry?
Is he painting something different so that it looks different from his other name, or what?
He is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's an abstract artist, and he does some abstract stuff. So he's just doing a different thing. You could do the same thing. It might be worth experimenting with. I don't see anything wrong with it. There are a lot of artists out there. I would guess I know 40 or 50 artists who have dual names in multiple galleries. One reason is because some were not selling enough, and so they'll be in another gallery in the same marketplace under a different name. I don't recommend that. And some have gone to the extent of creating separate websites for different names. You don't want to do anything that's underhanded, but you might experiment with it. But quite frankly, I think you could have, because you're in Canadian dollars and US dollars anyway, there's no comparison. The exchange rate is not exactly very favorable right now for US, it's better to get US dollars right now. So if you could get into a US gallery and set your prices, I don't think it's going to hurt you a bit. It'd be worth a try.
Nice. I like your perspective. Thanks.
It's just a perspective. It may not be a right one.
Yeah, I like the energy, the boldness, the courage. That's good.
Well, I think the thing you've got to always ask yourself, David, whenever you make a definitive statement like what you said, you always have to ask yourself, is that really true, or am I just telling myself that? Is there something that's really supporting that? I guarantee you that there's some gallery in Canada who would love to have you, who is not going to stick to a square inch price. You just don't know them yet.
Well,
right?
I mean, I'm not unhappy with my business. I sell everything I paint. I have great galleries representing me, but it's always been a bit of a question in the back of my mind ever since I had that experience with the gallery in the States. So,
so if you sell, you just said something that's a big red flag to me. If you sell everything that you paint, then your prices are too low.
Well,
when was the last time you raised your prices, David?
I raise the prices every year or every second year.
Okay. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you raised your prices?
Sorry, go ahead.
When was the last time you raised your prices?
A year and a half ago.
Okay. So a year and a half ago, how much were eggs?
I don't know, Eric. I'm not buying eggs very often, but I get your point.
Canada, but in the last year and a half, the price of eggs has gone from a couple of dollars for a carton of eggs to $9 or $12. So that's super inflation. And everything is more expensive today than it was 6 months ago. I recommend every artist raise their prices at least once a year. And I don't tell them what percentage they should raise them. But I believe that I think, every business should raise their prices about 10% a year on average. And if I raise my prices 10%, I'm still not keeping up with the cost. Like my cost for everything, if I do an online event today, my cost is double what it was a year ago, and I have to raise my prices double. And I probably should, but I haven't. And some of that is a little bit of fear, which you're experiencing too. But I would certainly raise prices at least once a year, and then I would look for an opportunity to come up with a way that makes something a little different, a little special, so it cannot be measured on a square inch price. And I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
I saw a painting on a surfboard the other day. I thought that was pretty cool.
Right. Yeah, I got it. When I first started in the business all those years ago, I had a number of artists, senior artists at the time, who were doing really well back in the 70s, and they were having sellout shows, and they were having lineups for every show and couldn't paint them fast enough. And then, three times a year, they were raising their prices and doubling their prices. And then when the recession hit, they were all out of work, so to speak. And so that was so it took a number of years for them to catch up and start selling their work again. And they were off doing other jobs and finding other ways to make a living at the time. So that kind of was how I started in the business. And they were really keen on, you got to make sure you are careful about how you price your paintings and how often you raise your prices, so you don't price yourself out of the market, so to speak.
No, I completely disagree with that philosophy. I think that the philosophy that I would go on is that's what's called demand pricing, right? You have high demand, you're selling everything you're putting out there, you can continue to raise your prices. If they sell well, you can continue to raise your prices. If there's no demand, then you can always cut your prices. But remember, when you cut your prices, you have to get them back up again eventually. And recessions are real. There's always somebody during a recession that's making a lot of money. And so you have to ask yourself, how do I stand in that river where that money is flowing? For instance, during the 2008 recession, there were certain towns that were dead. There were other towns that were thriving, right? 2009, Silicon Valley was thriving. So if you had paintings in a gallery in Silicon Valley, people were walking in and spending 10 grand on a painting and not thinking twice about it, then you're standing in the right river. So I think the idea is you just always have to be adjusting. If you raise your prices, if you were in the same situation of those people and you raised your prices 3 times and you put that money away and you don't spend it all, now you've got some money to get you through a tough time when a tough time comes, because they always come.
Yeah.
We're in that now, and a lot of artists I know aren't selling much. Other artists I know are selling more than they've ever sold. And a lot of it has to do with attitude. A lot of it has to do with being willing to zig at the last minute when everybody else zags, right? So some of the galleries are not selling as well right now. A friend of mine just told me how much money he made last year. I couldn't believe it. And he said, I'm not doing any of that with galleries. I'm doing it all direct. And he's got a very interesting strategy. So I'm not suggesting you do that. You've got galleries that are producing, you should stick with them. But if they all have their prices increased too, they're not going to be unhappy if you're giving a cost of living increase on your paintings in most cases.
No.
And quite frankly, if they can figure out how to get more money for your painting, they're going to be happier about it.
Yeah. Interesting. Well,
All
and
right,
thank
you so much.
Yeah, I guess just as the last point, one of the kind of red flags to this attitude was saying that you could reduce your prices, and that's kind of one of the no-nos in the market as far as I've been told. So, well,
I don't like that. But it's about survival. If you're in a recession, it's about survival. If you can lower them down a little bit and still make a living versus not selling anything, then sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You're going to pay the price later. Now another way to do that is again you're them, right? So maybe you start painting some smaller pieces that are less money under a different name, and you say to the gallery, hey, push these. Let's keep the others at the higher price and see what happens. I mean, anything to make money. I mean, as long as it's ethical.
Yeah, right on.
All right, man. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Brilliant. Cheers.
All right. Well, I wish. All right. Well, you guys, I just want to tell you that we got a free gift for you. It's a free video. It's about 2 hours long. It's called 97 Incredible Art Secrets from the World's Finest Artists. It's a sampler, but we took some of the best tips from some of the videos that we've produced over the years professionally and put them on this, and it's yours for free, 97artsecrets.com/ASL. Now you can get it on DVD. There are still a lot of people who buy DVDs, and if you want DVD, we'll give it to you if you pay the shipping, which is like $5 or something. So but you can instantly stream it. Most people buy instant streaming today, and that's where most people spend their time. But you can get it either way, whatever you want to do. That'd be terrific. A couple of things I want to mention to you real quickly. Acrylic Live is just around the corner. As a matter of fact, I'll be gone again for a week, the 26th through 28th, because I'll be hosting Acrylic Live. So I'll have a guest host in here because I can't do both at the same time. This has turned out to be one of the biggest conferences online we've ever done. What a big surprise for us. A lot of people want to learn about acrylic from the world's leading masters. So make sure you sign up. It's going to be terrific. That's the 26th through 28th with Essentials Day on the 25th. acryliclive.com/ASL. And today is the last day. I get my Valentine's Day, my St. Patrick's Day outfit back on. Today is the last day. I'm not even going to try to fake the accent because I'll blow it. But today is the last day to get your lowest price on the plein air convention. This is the early bird price expiration for St. Patty's Day. And you can get it by midnight tonight. Go ahead and sign up. It's going to be great. You're going to have a lot of fun. And that is pleinairconvention.com. Also mention to you the Art Business Mastery Day which we did in January, was a huge success. We had over 1,000 people attending it. And since then, a lot of people have been saying, hey, we would love to be able to watch that. Well, we have the replays available. We decided to make them available to the general public. There's a small fee associated with that. Let's just go to artbizmastery.com and you can get those replays there. You can also find our mastermind groups there where we coach people on their marketing. So we're here every weekday at 12 noon, marketing Mondays, feedback Fridays, and art training in the middle. And here's the deal. If you watch just 5 programs, just five programs, you can get the courage to learn to paint, right? Because anybody can do it. You just watch any 5 where we're teaching painting, you can do this. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Just go to YouTube and look up Art School Live. We just hit 17.5 million views. Yay, thank you for that. We're very excited. And we will see you here again tomorrow. I don't know what we're doing tomorrow, but it'll be good. I guarantee it. I'm Eric Rhodes. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.